Chapter 15. That doesn't make any sense. Ratchet folded his arms, sighing. What do you mean? Sam shifted to get more comfortable, where she was sitting on her berth. We Cybertronians don't dream like that. Ratchet shook his head. It's unprecedented. What can cause it? I don't know. I'm going to look into it, but I'll need you to sit through some tests. Ratchet frowned, rubbing at his lower face. It was oddly human. Okay, so how do Cybertronians dream? Sam leaned forward, eager to learn something new about the planet she had found herself on, and its people. Our processors recycle through memories. We relive things in vivid detail. We don't make new dreams. That sounds absolutely dreadful. The medic shook his head again. Not dreaming anything new at all sounded awful to Sam. Is that normal where you're from? Ratchet refocused on her, frowning deeper than before. Yes. Sam wasn't sure how to explain it further than what she already had, and she hoped Ratchet understood at least to some extent. That sounds awful, Ratchet shook his head. I can run tests today. I've been meaning to anyway. Got a lot to look at, including your healing damages. But Bumblebee and Bluestreak, Sam protested. She had adopted Bumblebee as her own at this point, just as much as Bluestreak. It seemed to her like he didn't have parents either, and she was more than happy to look after another baby. We'll be fine under Jazz's capable watch, Ratchet interrupted her firmly. We need to start investigating what's going on here, and for that, I need all the clues I can get. All right, Sam agreed begrudgingly. She wasn't looking forward to whatever alien tests that they were going to have to do. Good. I'll contact Jazz and set up for the day. Ratchet reached out and patted her shoulder before heading off to his desk. Sam watched him go. It was early still, and the children had yet to wake. Ratchet was far too kind. There was no gain for him, no reward, but he was still doing his best to help her, without expecting anything in return. She couldn't remember the last time that had happened, back when she was on Earth. Cybertronians seemed innately drawn to one another and incentivized to help, regardless of circumstance. It made Sam wonder how the war had started in the first place, if the species was naturally so open and kind. She made a mental note to ask Optimus when she saw him next. Jazz arrived quicker than Sam would have thought. He seemed like the type to sleep in, but no, he was at the door with Sideswipe and Sunstreaker in tow, cheerful and bright as usual. The twins, however, were a different story. They were leaning against one another and trying to fall back into recharge while standing up, clearly not ready to be up for the day. They mumbled little greetings in her direction, but that was it. It was cute, and Sam had to cover her mouth with a hand to hide her smile. Jazz was a good babysitter from what Sam could tell, considering he was handling the Terror Twins. Maybe it was because they were half asleep, but something told Sam that even if they weren't, Jazz could handle them. Something about him just seemed in control, without having to be controlling. If Sam didn't know Jazz as well as she did, she wouldn't have been okay with him looking after the Sparklings. The silver mech shot her a grin as he scooped up both of the Sparklings. Unlike Sam, despite being smaller, Jazz had no problem carrying both of the babies at the same time. She could only stare at him. How was he doing it? What was his secret? Could she learn to do that? See you later, Sam. Chaz chuckled, clearly showing off, and left with the Terror Twins. Sam narrowed her eyes and glared after him. What a little shit. All right, Sam, are we ready to get started? Ratchet came over while rubbing some kind of chemical over his hands. What? Already? She looked up at him, startled. The sooner we start, the more we can get done. Ratchet tilted his head. Is that a problem? What about breakfast? He stared blankly at her. First Energon? She prompted. Ah, no. I want as accurate results as I can get. You can intake Energon afterwards. Ratchet shook his head. Oh, okay. Sam sighed. At least she wasn't getting the flashing red warning signs in her vision yet. I'm going to start us out with some basic physical exams, and we will go from there. Ratchet gave a small nod. It might take us a cycle or two to run all the tests I would like to, however, so we may not finish today. That many? Sam wondered how many tests this species had. Hell, she didn't even know how many humans had, but she thought they could get at least more than most of them done in a day, right? Unfortunately, Ratchet sighed. We can start by drawing some of your mainline energon and running a full diagnostic scrub on your processor. Having her energon line drawn from wasn't like having blood drawn at all. Ratchet had Sam lie down, turned one of her arms over, and gently unscrewed one of the soft inner cables at about the elbow. He kept it kinked, keeping the energon contained until he had a vial positioned under it. Then he unkinked the line and filled it up. Once full, Ratchet carefully screwed the line back in with unbelievable precision, all without losing a single drop of the precious liquid. Sam was surprised she didn't feel any lightheadedness or pain. Now this diagnostic is going to take a while, Ratchet spoke as he got his tools ready, so you'll have to lie still for a bit. While the diagnostic is going, I won't be able to perform any other tests. It could ruin the diagnostic and cause problems. So, is this a sensitive operation? A sense of nervousness pinged at Sam. No, but that doesn't mean something bad can't happen and that we shouldn't take precautions. The medic shook his head. The diagnostic was a whole new ballgame of weird. Ratchet first had Sam lay on her side, then pushed lightly at the back of her head. There was a strange sensation, like when you have your head shaved and suddenly feel air where you couldn't before. That already made Sam uncomfortable, but then it got worse. Ratchet took a few cables and hooked them into the back of her head. It felt like Ratchet was touching the inside of her brain, running his fingers over the surface. Electric and sharp, it was borderline painful, almost like a headache, but not quite. Sam hoped this wouldn't last too long. Alright, I'm starting the diagnostic up. You ready? It sounded like Ratchet was typing away at a computer behind her. It wasn't started yet? Sam thought what had been done was the diagnostic. No, I was just hooking you up. I know it's uncomfortable, I'm sorry. Ratchet reached over and patted her shoulder. It's alright. Sam took a deep breath. Okay, I'm ready. It was now or never, right? She heard Ratchet type a little more behind her. There was silence for a moment, and then it hit her. It was as though something were going through her mind at a rapid-fire pace, flipping through manila folders filled with papers in a filing cabinet. This was almost like the one time Sam was in the hospital and had to receive narcotic painkillers. The high she experienced was very similar to whatever this was. If Sam still had her stomach, she was certain she would have vomited just like that time too. The sensations were making her queasy. How long is this going to last again? Sam's voice warbled with stress as she struggled with the unpleasant sensations. I'm sorry, it's going to be a while, Ratchet hedged. But how long? That depends on what it does or doesn't find. But what's it looking for? Sam hoped it found whatever it was looking for quickly. It's checking all your files, memories, emotion center, everything. If anything is missing, corrupted, or damaged, it will let me know, and we can begin a cleanup or repair. Ratchet was typing at that computer again. Sam barely held in a groan. So a long time then. With Ratchet working at the computer and nothing to do while lying there on the berth, Sam was left alone with her thoughts. Something that probably wasn't for the best at the moment. She found her thoughts continuously turning back to her nightmare. There at the end, those purple robotic optics, where had those come from? Sam hadn't met anyone on the base yet with purple eyes like that. They had been so intense, and there was the sickening feeling that they were actually staring her down, capable of seeing her and just watching. Like a predator hunting prey. It sent a shiver down her spine. Absolutely chilling. Maybe Ratchet knew someone with purple eyes? Hey, Ratchet? It took Sam a moment to build up the courage to ask. Yes? Ratchet stopped typing. Do you know anyone with purple optics? Sam couldn't see him, but she could feel him looking at her. Not personally, no. Is it possible for someone to have optics that color? No, at least I've never come across any during my career as a medic. The typing started up again. You thinking of your nightmare again? He struggled to remember what she had called it, and it made her smile. It was just like how Sam was struggling to remember all the Cybertronian words and terms. Maybe, Sam partially admitted. I don't know. I hope that's all it was. You mentioned that they can get wild at times. Ratchet sighed. Me too. They fell quiet again after that. Maybe there were people who had optics like that Ratchet hadn't come across? There were all kinds of things that most doctors on Earth wouldn't see in their entire careers too, right? So maybe Sam would find something in the books she had asked for. Or maybe Optimus could tell her something. He seemed like he knew a lot. Maybe he could at least point her in the right direction. It was just niggling at the back of Sam's head, bothering her. Okay, that's done. Good job. Ratchet praised, typing away a little more. There was a soft click at the back of her helm, and the cables fell off into the floor on their own. It was more than a little relieving. Sam didn't hesitate to twist her body and sit up straight. It felt good to be disconnected. As she stretched up and worked out all the kinks she felt had developed during the test, Ratchet moved over and pressed something closed at the back of her head. That sensation of air passing over her brain stopped. Sam figured it was some kind of hatch he had just closed. We're making good time so far, Ratchet patted her shoulder. Think we can get it all done today, then? Sam lowered her arms. I don't think so, unfortunately. I have more questions now. He sighed. Everything is checking out normal so far. Well, what are you looking for? I don't know. Ratchet shook his head, a note of frustration in his voice. It only added to Sam's confusion. So, what's next then? I'm trying to get all the major tests out of the way first. Ratchet moved over to a closet and started digging around. This next one is a little more intrusive. Intrusive? Sam didn't like the sound of that. Yes. Ratchet apparently found what he was looking for, because he stopped digging and started dragging out a wad of thin metal fabric with poles ending in wheels. He brought it over to her berth and started unfolding it. What's that? A privacy screen. The medic finished unrolling the poles, making them nearly reach the ceiling. Then he began pulling them apart, stretching the fabric out and slowly encircling her bed with it. When he finished, Sam couldn't see the rest of the room, and it was like she had her own little bedroom. It was kind of neat. Ratchet pushed the edge of the curtain aside and stepped inside the circle he had made, pulling it shut behind him. Then he patted the top of the berth. Go ahead and lay down on your back. What's this test? Is it going to hurt? Sam was nervous and a little on edge, but she still laid down, this time facing the ceiling. She had to lay her wings out flat, meaning she was laying on top of them. It was extremely uncomfortable already. It's not going to hurt, but it's going to feel strange, I'm sure, to you. Ratchet reached out and gently squeezed her shoulder. We're going to open up your chassis and take a look at your spark. Excuse me, my what?